investigation.
And the Chief Minister responded, saying the government was bound by its new Bullying in the Workplace Act not to make public internal investigations regarding specific instances of bullying.
Well, look, I think Mr. Feetham seems to have sat out the debate that we had on the anti-bullying legislation. He doesn't seem to realise that, of course, the legislation comes with guidelines and procedures for employers to apply in just these circumstances. And the government has been applying these procedures to itself since December. And therefore, what we're going to do is going to follow our procedures. That procedure sets up an independent process for investigation of this sort of allegation. What we will not do is put in the public domain in Parliament, as he has suggested, the results of an anti-bullying investigation which is carried out by the government. He needs to understand, when Mr. Feetham makes these sorts of remarks, that there are going to be a lot of investigations of these type in the future. We've passed legislation to ensure that if there is bullying, it's investigated and stopped. Is he seriously suggesting that we should put all of those conclusions, when they affect the public service, in front of Parliament? Or is it simply that he still hasn't got over whatever it is he has against this particular individual against whom the allegations have been made?
Well, the reality is that this particular individual made her own allegations against other public servants, which then were the result of a public inquiry.
But they were not, with respect, Jonathan, allegations of bullying. They were allegations of abuse against vulnerable children. Those are the sorts of allegations that should go to a public inquiry, and which the previous government, of which Mr. Feetham was a part, resisted. Now, if he resisted when in government, making an inquiry, setting up an inquiry into the abuse of children, and we are actually setting up an independent investigation into an allegation of bullying within 24 hours of my being told about it, in keeping with our new procedures, I think Mr. Feetham is on the wrong side of fairness on this issue to this particular individual.
And we'll be back with more of this week's news after the break.
GBC Television has a number of vacancies. We're looking for a full-time production camera person. The ideal candidate will be creative, and camera and video editing experience is an advantage. We also have a part-time opportunity for a studio camera operator. We're particularly keen in hearing from you if you have an interest in photography, and available to work some 40 hours a month, mainly evenings. And we're also recruiting a part-time audio-visual assistant, working 20 hours a week.
Welcome back. Gibraltarian Liana Armstrong Emery announced this week that she would be standing as part of the Liberal Democrat slate for the European elections in the southwest region and Gibraltar, having been put forward by the Liberal Party of Gibraltar. She was the first Gibraltarian to stand for election to the European Parliament in 2004, then with the Green Party.
I think it's very important. It's a time that we can highlight Gibraltar and the issues that face us. And I think it's important also because we had to fight for the right to vote in European elections. As you know, we've been in the European Union since 1973, and yet the first time we were allowed to vote in the European elections was in 2004. So I think, having been granted that opportunity, it's vitally important that we exercise that right.
It wasn't a great outing for Gibraltar this week in its two matches, but they certainly gave it their all. The Faroe Islands beat Gibraltar 4-1 in an international friendly last weekend at the Victoria Stadium. The match on Saturday evening started with Gibraltar taking the lead with a goal by team captain Roy Cipollina, but the celebrations were short-lived. Our sports reporter John Sheppard followed the game.
Gibraltar lost 4-1 at home on Saturday night to the Faroe Islands in their first home soil international since last year's UEFA decision, which saw Gibraltar become Team 54. Gibraltar, after the promising draw with Slovakia in November last year, away at their temporary home UEFA ground in Portugal, never got going in the match despite the fact they'd beaten their Nordic opponents just 3 years ago. In front of a little over 2,000 local fans at the Victoria Stadium, Gibraltar, playing a 5-4-1 formation, was slow out of the blocks against a team ranked 51 in Europe, with the Faroes creating several chances in the opening 20 minutes. Gibraltar took the lead slightly against the run of play, with captain Roy Cipollina heading in at the far post from Gibraltar's first corner of the match. The goal provided little respite from the Faroe Islands attacking play, and the visitors were level on 26 minutes when Edmundson was allowed too much space and time on the edge of the box and picked his spot to draw the sides level. Gibraltar were behind 2-1 just 6 minutes later when Holt's shot took a deflection off Gibraltar's defender Danny Higginbottom and passed a despairing dive of keeper Jordan Perez. With 5 minutes of the first half remaining, things appeared to be going from bad to worse when a clumsy challenge in the box from Joseph Cipollina resulted in the referee awarding a penalty. The spot kick was missed, leaving the score at 2-1 at the break. Gibraltar manager Alan Buller made 3 changes at half-time and the switch appeared to see a different Gibraltar after the break. However, on 58 minutes, the Faroes extended their lead through Hansen. On 67 minutes, Holt scored his second of the game and the Faroes' fourth, which put the game out of reach of Gibraltar, with the scoreline remaining to the end. Plenty to work on for Gibraltar ahead of Wednesday's encounter against Estonia, a sentiment echoed in the post-match press conference by both national manager Alan Buller and captain Roy Cipollina.
We didn't even deserve a draw in this match. Our first few goals, we just handed it to them. And people they have to realise now what we're in. And sometimes it's good, it happens before the qualifiers, but this is a very, very good reality check, and obviously we could see in most of our players, apart from 4 or 5, and obviously my captain being one of them, the rest fitness level are a major issue going into the qualifiers.
Blame the conditions. I mean, the conditions are the same for us as they are for the Faroe Islands. I just thought we were very poor. I mean, we started the first 10-15 minutes, I think, about the only thing we did in the game. After that, it was just downhill. After we conceded the first goal, which again, I thought the first sort of 2, maybe 3 of the 4 goals were very sloppy mistakes and basically presence from us. I mean, you just can't give professional players of that standard any time on the ball to turn, 18 yards out and give them a free strike and goal. We're obviously downhearted. We didn't expect, obviously, to get what I call a very embarrassing result personally. I did expect a tough game, as I expect every match to be, but I do expect us to perform a lot better than we did today. I thought our work rate wasn't up to standard, and maybe you can blame it on fitness, but I just think we just froze really after they got their equaliser. We just didn't seem to want it enough, and at this level, teams will just punish you.
Gibraltar's manager has not discarded bringing in more players from abroad in future. He said his job was to strike the right balance and field the best team and to make sure that the Gibraltar flag, which we are representing, is always protected, as are the interests of the nation. Alan Buller made these comments at a news conference following Gibraltar's first UEFA international friendly on Wednesday evening. Gibraltar was beaten 2-0 by Estonia at a packed Victoria Stadium. The Gibraltar team, however, kept its fans happy with its efforts.
Gibraltar is pleased with last night's performance, with team manager Alan Buller saying there had been a great team effort and some players had sacrificed themselves to ensure others gave of their best. At last night's press conference, he replied to comments by GBC that he'd achieved a massive turnaround in 3 days, following the match with the Faroe Islands on Saturday.
It's a great feeling, knowing that we can turn things around, and in a double header we've managed to do it. And it's basically the hard work that these lads have put in, and they've helped me, they've helped the coaching staff. It's been a united front, and obviously they've had it there. Probably the game against the Faroe Islands was not the true Gibraltar playing, but in a way I'm happy that probably that game did happen, because it shows you a lot and you learn a lot from it. And you've seen it today.
I think that we got things right, but I would consider it was not the top performance, of course, but it was a lot of new things for the players, and this was a start, and it's always positive to get a start and a win, and not letting any goal in. So in that way, yes, of course, I'm okay, satisfied.
The match saw defender Danny Higginbottom retiring to a standing ovation after his 450th game of football. He said it had been an honour to play for Gibraltar and felt humbled to have ended his career here.
It's a family, and that's what it's all about. And and the way the fans have been. Fans, it doesn't matter where you're from, whether you're in England, whether you're playing in Premier League, whether you're playing in the Spanish League, the German League. Fans will appreciate you if you give 100%. You can't fool supporters. Simple as that. So fans will go on about and say, oh well, you're going to go and get players from here, players from there, players from everywhere. What's he going to do things like that? You know why? Because you can spot somebody that wants to come here and play for Gibraltar for the right reasons, and you can spot people that just want to come here for an easy life. And they'll be found out within 5 minutes. The players will find them out within 5 minutes. The fans will certainly find them out, because that's how they are. And I think the fans have been good with me because I've come here. I've not come here just to say I've got an international cap.
Danny Higginbottom confirmed he was staying on as part of the technical team, saying he was looking forward to being able to help and that he felt privileged to have been asked. There was certainly praise for the technical team from Danny Higginbottom, who affectionately referred to Alan Buller as the boss and said the team was outstanding and second to none.
Also this week, Kid Creole and the Coconuts will be the special guests at the 2014 Gibraltar International Song Festival. The Gibraltar Tourist Board attended the International Travel Trade Fair, ITB Berlin, and Gibraltar celebrated World Book Day. For the rest of this week's news, you can head over to our website, gbc.gi/news. Don't forget to tune in to Radio Gibraltar and GBC Television throughout the week for the very latest local news. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Thank you very much for watching. From the team, good night.